A new study highlights the 20 ways that you can reduce your risk of dying prematurely. This was published by the American Heart Association in the journal Circulation, titled Heart Disease and Stroke Statistics 2023 Update, a report from the American Heart Association. Now, as many of you know, the American Heart Association recently put out an abstract trying to discourage you from intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding. We covered that on another video here. That analysis was quite questionable. I think this analysis is a little bit better. This was 180 pages. It was very deep, very detailed, and we're going to talk about the 20 leading risk factors that are reducing life years. And so they talk about YLL. These are years of life lost and death in the US and throughout the world. And I think it's really important because when you go to the doctor, your doctor's focused on your LDL cholesterol or other biomarkers, but they highlight the things that you really should focus on to feel good and feel healthy. So the number one thing that is reducing life years is smoking. So if you are smoking or vaping of any kind, I don't care what it is, cannabis or just stop. Smoking is problematic. This is the number one cause of loss of life years. Having high blood pressure comes in at number 2. And so I think that is really important to recognize that high blood pressure is going to increase your risk of having a stroke or heart attack. Also increase your risk, fellas, of having erectile dysfunction, feeling unhealthy, not good. And so you might be saying, well, how do I reduce my blood pressure? Focusing on sleep, circadian rhythm health, vitamin D, exercise, which should probably be the first thing along with sleep. And we can talk about other factors there, magnesium, micronutrients, but reducing blood pressure comes in at number 2. Losing body fat is number 3. So having high amounts of body fat are going to cause you to have a poor quality of life. And so we've talked in many other videos, prioritizing protein, resistance training, zone 2 training. There's so many things that you can do to lose body weight, but it's important to recognize that all these things come down to metabolic health. That's important because high blood pressure and weight coincide. The more you weigh, the higher your blood pressure is. The crappier your sleep is, the more you're going to weigh and higher your blood pressure are. And so coming in at number 4 is impaired metabolic health or elevated fasting glucose. Really important to keep in mind. You know, when you go to the doctor, they're focused on LDL cholesterol. That doesn't even come until number 7. Okay, so you should focus more on your glucose levels than your LDL cholesterol levels. I think that is really important. Now, what do you do to lower your glucose? Well, we've talked about minimizing consumption of processed foods, eating in a more confined window, an 8-hour window, time-restricted eating between the hours of 10 and 6 or 10 and 8 are really doable for most people. Prioritizing protein, chewing your food mindfully to activate all the gut hormones. We hear a lot about semaglutide and GLP-1. Well, it turns out that just chewing your food will increase the same gut hormones in a healthy manner that are increased with this pharmacologic drug known as semaglutide. So if you want to balance metabolic health, chew your food mindfully, eat protein, walk after meals, balance your sleep. All these things are self-reinforcing, as I already said. The 5th leading cause of loss of life years is illicit drug use. So if you're using opiates, methamphetamines, cocaine, heroin, I mean, obviously not good for having a vital life and good cognition and mental wellness and these things. So illicit drug use is the top 5 reason why people die prematurely. Alcohol use comes in at number 6, friends. So if you're drinking wine, drinking beer, that stuff, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You feel good for an hour, a little buzz, and then for 24 hours, you feel like crap. Plus, it will compromise your sleep, which will increase your blood pressure, cause you to weigh more, right? We know that alcohol is empty calories, but that will increase belly fat. That's why it's called a beer belly. It's not called a fitness belly. It's called a beer belly because people are eating, all those calories and alcohol conversion into fructose and things like that are problematic. LDL cholesterol comes in at number 7. Okay, so now I think it's important to recognize that LDL cholesterol gets high and can be problematic in people because they also have poor metabolic health, high fasting glucose, high triglycerides. This is this constellation of poor metabolic health. Now, what's interesting are the differences in the US versus global risk factors for loss of life years. We're going to talk about the global risk factors. So if you live in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, parts of Europe, you might want to pay attention to this. But first, I just want to say thank you for being here. I appreciate your likes, your comments, your shares. If you're enjoying this content and this science review, please hit that like button and leave a comment in the comment section below. I want to thank our friends over at Bond Charge for sponsoring this video. A great tool that can improve your quality of life, your sleep, and ability to relax at night is sauna therapy. We know there's so many benefits of sauna. Getting hot on purpose improves blood flow, circulation. It's relaxing. It's detoxifying. So a tool that you can use at home is the Bond Charge infrared sauna blanket. This is one of the hottest yet lowest EMF sauna blankets on the market. It gets up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, friends. This is much hotter than most infrared saunas. And plus, it has a very small form factor. If you live in a flat, a studio, a condo, you can use this in a very small region of your home, or even you can travel with this. I've traveled with this. It gets really, really hot. So you can save by going to bondcharge.com/HIH and check out their amazing at-home sauna blanket. I'll put links in the description below. Again, that URL one more time is bondcharge.com/HIH. So let's talk about the global risk factors. We talked about the US. We talked about body mass index, smoking, alcohol use, high fasting glucose, and illicit drug use. But what about globally? Well, it turns out that high fasting glucose is the #1 risk factor for dying prematurely throughout the world. So when you combine all the different data, high fasting glucose comes in the top 5 here in the US as well as throughout the world. LDL cholesterol is not even on the top 10 here globally. So I think that's important because, again, most doctors are monomaniacally focused on lowering your LDL cholesterol. They should care more, based upon the evidence, on lowering your glucose and your insulin, hemoglobin A1C. Okay, second globally, in terms of staying alive and living a long life, healthy life, is reducing body mass index, losing weight. The third thing, we talked about smoking, really problematic. Iron deficiency comes in at #4. So in underdeveloped countries where there's not access to dairy and animal products, iron deficiency is problematic, and that can be a challenge. High blood pressure comes in at #5. Alcohol use comes in at #6. Occupational challenges such as death in the occupation, unsafe workplaces comes in at #7. This is interesting at #8. This ties into the sauna blanket use, is ambient particulate matter exposure and pollution. So if you live in, say, Mexico City, where there's like 19 million people in a small little area, or parts of Bangladesh and India, very high density areas, a lot of pollution, that is problematic for your long-term health. It may increase your risk of dementia, cancer, and much more. Drug use comes in at #9. Kidney dysfunction comes in at #10. Okay. So there's a lot of images here talking about the problem here, particularly in the US, and this is the obesity prevalence. As you can see here, rates of obesity in all ages have just skyrocketed, sadly. And so as we talked about, body mass index came in at #3 here in the US, I believe in #3 or 2 or 3 globally. So this is the problem. And part of that problem can be traced back to, as you can see in this image here, a decline in movement and fitness. People are just not moving as they used to, not walking as much, not going to the gym as much, not staying as active. And that is problematic and will increase your risk of developing non-communicable diseases that will shorten your lifespan. So in conclusion, I think, focusing on this table 2-3 here, not smoking, reducing your blood pressure, losing body fat, and decreasing your fasting glucose, the top 4 reasons that most people die prematurely, at least here in the US, are very attainable. Most of us can do this. We can quit smoking. We can get tobacco-free nicotine if you're addicted to nicotine. You can reduce your blood pressure very easily. Many people do this just by compressing their feeding window, by practicing time-restricted feeding or fasting. Reducing body fat, again, we talked a lot about simple ways to reduce this in various other videos. And metabolic health should be top of mind for many people. And considering that high fasting glucose is the 4th leading cause as to why people are losing quality adjusted life years, then we really should be cutting out processed foods, sugary foods and snacks, and snacking and eating late at night, and skipping the gym and things like that. That is a reason why people die prematurely. So we should incentivize exercise. We should incentivize eating real food, and so on. So hopefully you enjoyed this summary of the article titled Heart Disease and Stroke Statistics in 2023, an update, a report from the American Heart Association. Really good evidence in here, and really good tangible ways for you to where you should focus when it comes to improving your health and your lifestyle, as well as your nutrition. So that's it for today's video, friends. We'll catch you on a future show down the road.